friends. Well, another week goes by and we're still in a strange situation still. It looks like things are getting slightly better bit by bit, but it is worrying if there's a second wave of this, isn't it? I just want to thank you all again for your support over the last 12 weeks, and it's really kept us afloat. And if you can donate anything tonight, as I say, these performances take about 2 weeks to research and rehearse and get ready. So this is 2 weeks' work you're seeing. And whatever you can donate, that would be fantastic. But I don't want to go on about it too much, but if you can help, please do. If you can't, and you're in a similar situation to me, self-employed and can't go back to work, then I understand. But I can't wait to get back out there, back on the streets and meet all you Flecky'S and Flecky'S again. But I hope you enjoy this 5th episode, which is all about Berry. So, over to Flecky.
It's Flecky, it's Friday, it's Flecky Bennett Friday, it's Flecky, it's Friday, it's Flecky's Fright Night.
Wrong one. Hello my friends, how are we all doing tonight? Are you alright? Nice to see you. Bit of pipage. Get me over to this camera, Emma. Oh, there. Got my new hat on. Got my little Dracula glasses. Oh yeah. Taking them off though now, I can't see bugger all. Back to this one, Emma, back to this one. Stop looking at the comments. Thank you very much. How are you all doing? Are you alright? Oh yes. Now we hope the sound's okay. Had a bit of problem with the sound as usual, but cheers everybody, cheers. I don't know what I've got my pipe in my hand for. We'll use that when there's a bit of a pipage moment. So yes, I hope you're all well. And another week goes by in this jail of Flecky Bennett headquarters. Still not been outside yet. Well, been in the garden, but nowhere else. You know what it's like. And we're keeping the R number down in this property. And I know you lot out there are. But there's some people that just aren't keeping the eye down, so I could be here for a long time. So, as I said before, Flecky Bennett here, and tonight it's all about Berry. Now, I know there's a few of you out there that are from Berry, or maybe work in Berry, or now live in Berry. Did you say Berry? It's actually spelled Bury, isn't it? But Berry, we'll say Berry tonight. And I like to start off with what the actual name of a place means. And it's a bit difficult with Berry. You'd think it was to do with burying something, wouldn't you? Or something like that. But it's not. It's not as easy as the town of Gore or the town of Ash Trees. It's not as simple as that. Berry is basically an Anglo-Saxon word. And it's B-U-R-I, which means stronghold or castle. So it basically means that Berry had a castle. And it was all about that. That's what B-U-R-Y means. Stronghold or castle. So there was a castle in Berry, and there was another one which was built in the 1400s, and in the centre of Berry there's the remains of Berry Castle. Let's have a look at it now, my friends. Let's have a look at it. There's Berry Castle, and yes, you can see all the bits of remains, and it was a big mansion house by all accounts. So it wasn't actually a castle like we'd imagine. But as you look at that picture there, in your top right hand corner, there's a Wetherspoons. Oh yes. And you might just be able to make out the name of that Wetherspoons, and it's the Sir Robert Peel. Come back to me, Emma, come back to me. Yeah, Sir Robert Peel. And he's probably the most famous person that ever came from Berry, really. He was born in 1788, was Robert Peel, and he was this country's Prime Minister on 2 separate occasions. But he's famous for inventing the modern police force. Oh, yes. The modern police force, that's right. And they weren't called the police originally, they were called Peelers, after Robert Peel. And the Peelers, different uniform from today, they had this fantastic costume they used to wear. Let's have a look at them right now. And as you can see them, they've got top hats, and they had long blue tailed coats. A bit like my top hat, that, isn't it, Emma? Oh, And long-tailed coats. Let's stay on that picture for a little bit longer. And these tail coats were to hide their long truncheon that used to go right down into the tail of the coat. And the reason they were dressed like, well, not like the police of today, is so they could blend in, hiding in plain sight. A bit like our undercover policemen, I reckon then. So that's what it was about. And that was the peelers. And you could only be a peeler from the age of 20 to 27 years of age. You had to be over 5'7". You had to have a clean licence, never been in trouble or anything, and that was you became a peeler. The one odd thing was you had to keep your uniform and your top hat on, off duty and on duty. So you had to go to sleep with the top hats on. How strange! Might try that tonight, Buggerlugs. Yes, so they're the peelers, and I'll keep my hat on. So they were the peelers. And that's why they got their name after him. And then they were nicknamed after his, Robert Peel. And we still use the term today, bobbies. All the bobbies are after you. And I know we still use it. 200 years later, we still use the name bobbies. And they're after the name Sir Robert Peel. So, yes, he's probably the most famous person from Bury. And there's a picture of Robert Peel right there. Handsome chap, wasn't he? Most people didn't like him. Don't come back to me, I'm having a drink. Bloody hell!
Sorry.
Jesus, you can't get it down. I've got my pipe out as well. Most people couldn't stand him. Apparently he was an horrible, arrogant... I'll say that again. Horrible, arrogant man. Oh, yes, Sir Robert Peel. So, even though he was a Sir Robert Peel. And that was Sir Robert Peel. So the most famous person from Bury is Robert Peel. Over the last few years... I only pick, there's quite a few famous people from Bury, but I just pick on the ones that I like, because my stories are about the weird, the wonderful, and the ghostly stories of somewhere, as you know. So our first couple of celebrities, or famous sports stars, should I say, is Gary and Phil Neville. And if you're a Man United fan, you know they played for Man United and also played for England. And, well, I'll tell you something. My favourite, though, and you probably all know this, let's just check there's nobody listening. You all know the name of their father, don't you? Neville.
Your faces and mess.
Famous David Bowie song. Neville, your face is a mess. But have you ever thought, his mum and dad, when they thought, what should we call our son? Let's call him Neville. Brilliant, isn't it? I love it. So, they're the Nevilles. I'm back over here. We're getting good at that, Emma, aren't we? So they're the Nevilles. They're the famous couple from Bury. Cheers, everybody. It's not an official drink break. They're probably the most famous person from Bury over the last 20 years is the late, great Victoria Wood. And let's have a look at her. There she is now, and she was from Bury. And if you've watched my Highgate one, you know that she used to live in Highgate. And that's still available to buy online on the website. But yes, that's Victoria Wood. And for quite a few years, I don't know how long she's been dead now. Is it about 3 or 4 years she's been dead, probably? But for a couple of years, they've been fighting to get some kind of statue made. And they had it made. And nobody liked it. Because they said it doesn't really look like Victoria Wood. It looks more like Ringo Starr. When we do look at it... The hair's spot on and the face. People were saying it looks like Ringo Starr. So they're not bloody very happy about it, I'll tell you that. So that's a couple of famous ones from Bury. Just along the road from the Victoria Wood statue is a wonderful clock tower. Let's have a look at the clock tower, Emma. And it's absolutely stunning, isn't it? And it's called the Whitehead Tower. And it's named after a man called Walter Whitehead. Let's have a look at Walter Whitehead. Great. Look at that tash. It's not curled at the edges, but it's like a walrus, isn't it? It's like a walrus over his top lip.
What's his face?
It's like a Dick Strawberry.
That's the one.
Strawbridge. I can never remember his name. Anyway, yeah, look at that tash. And that is Mr. Walter Whitehead. Now, as a child, he was a bit of a sadistic little bastard. He really was. When he was a little boy, he pulled out his sister's teeth with a pair of pliers. Oh, yes. And he was really into sick things like that. He was into cutting things and his parents didn't know what to do with him. Didn't know what to do with him at all. So they sent him off to boarding schools and to have counselling, whatever counselling was in them days. And Eventually he turned a corner and he became an adult and a responsible adult. Then he went to train as a doctor and he became a surgeon. So all that bloodthirsty cutting and pulling teeth and stuff came in really handy. And yeah, he was based in Manchester at the Royal Infirmary, the MRI. And he was quite a controversial character though, was Walter Whitehead, because, well, just imagine, back in the day when he was operating, we're talking in the late 1800s, early 1900s, there was no anaesthetic, so people had to just go through an operation. So you're having your leg cut off, you just had to bite down on something or get drunk and they'd sew it off, as you can imagine. Absolutely horrific. So it was all about doing operations as quickly as possible. And Whitehead specialised in diseases of the tongues, cancer of the tongue, anything like that. And he also, there wasn't anaesthetic, but there was antiseptic was invented, and lots of doctors used it in operations, but he thought it was rubbish, and he'd only use hot soap and water. So this is how it came about. But one day he was a bit of a drinker. He liked to, let's go on here, he liked a few scoops. Cheers. He liked a few scoops, did Walter. And he came in to do an operation on somebody's tongue. And this is what it used to look like. He invented like a rocking chair. Let's have a look at it. It's quite horrible, isn't it? He used to lean them back on a rocking chair and they'd stick the tongue out, and that's how he'd do the operation. And yeah, he got in there one day into the operating theatre. There's a man on the operating table waiting for him, wide awake, conscious as they were back in the day. And he was a bit hungover and a bit irritable. And the nurse said, what implement do you want today? He said, oh, just give us a pair of scissors. And he got hold of some scissors and cut the tongue off. And then a bit of hot soap and water on the end of the tongue, where what was remaining of it. And he started using his scissors for all his operations. Let's just have a look at some surgical scissors. There they are. You can just imagine it, can't you? You can just imagine it. Horrible, bloody surgical scissors. And he started to say, well, they are quick, aren't they? When you cut up a bit of bacon or beef, you can get through them pretty quickly. To be honest, I always use scissors to cut chicken up and everything, because it's easier than cutting with a knife. But that's what he did. Pull the tongue out, whoop, straight off, bit of soap and water, off he went to his next patient. He thought it was a wonderful thing to do. However, 20 of his recent patients that he tried this new, trying to make an example of them, you know, with the scissors, they died of blood loss. So he swore that it saved loads of people's lives, but 20 people died straight away from him cutting their tongues off with a pair of scissors. So that's a bit gory. And then he used them same scissors, oh yes, to cut out piles. Let's go over here. Have you ever had a pile? Have you? I have. You can get piles, can't you? And some of them are bleeding piles. Let's have a look at a warning here, a bleeding pile. That's it. And now, this is not... If you're a squeamy nature and you don't like horrific things, you want to look away, because I'm now going to show you a bleeding pile. Let's have a look at a bleeding pile. Here we go. Oh, look at it. Hang on, Emma. You've got the wrong slide there, haven't you? Is that not the wrong slide?
No.
Come back to me. I think we moved on a bit fast there.
No, I already showed the other one and you said
No,
that was next.
No, she's got the wrong one. That's not a bleeding pile. That's what Bury is known for. That's its famous food. Oh, yes. That is the old Bury black pudding. I believe Jean is out there tonight and she's having a black pudding. So if you're eating it now, I hope you know what's in one, Jean, because I was about to tell you. Oh, cheers, everybody. Yes. So, oh yes, black puddings. Oh, what do you think about black puddings, everybody? Are you into black puddings? Do you like black puddings? Apparently they taste delicious, but I just could not face it because it is blood, basically. So they go back to almost 500 years, do black puddings. When they were slaughtering the pigs, they liked to use every single part of the pig. And when they were bleeding it after they cut its throat, they thought, what can we do with the blood? And it doesn't keep very long, the blood. It goes off within, I think it's 30 minutes. So they thought, right, let's make use of this. So they pour it straight into a bucket. So if you want to make black puddings at home, here's Flecky Bennett's ingredients and recipe for you. Let's have a look at a bucket of blood. Now, Bugger loves his bucket of blood. Now that is, that is pig's blood. And then you get some pig fat. You chop it into little chunks. You throw that in. And then you get some porridge oats. You mix that in. And that's basically it, or no? And then you add a secret like herb, and I'm going to talk about that in a second. And then you put all that mixture in a sausage skin and you boil it in a pan. And then if you want to cook it for breakfast, you slice that boiled sausage up and you fry it in a pan, don't you? That's what I believe people do, but it's not for me. Inside the black pudding is a herb, and it's called pennyroyal. Let's have a look at it. As you can see, it looks a bit like lavender, doesn't it, really? And that is one of the herbs they put in black pudding to give it a flavour. But it's a very strange herb, because if you put too much in, it's lethal to humans. So it can kill a human, no problem, if you put too much in. But there's another link here. There's a link between black puddings and piles. I didn't put them back to back. That wasn't by mistake. There is actually a link, because pennyroyal is actually ground down, made into an ointment, and it's for the treatment of piles if you put it on piles. So them scissors were in people's mouths, up people's bums, and rubbing out. Oh, it's absolutely disgusting, isn't it? So let's move it. Oh, no. Now then, I don't mind trying a vegan version. There's a vegan black pudding that the Famous Berry Company make, a vegan one now. I'd give it a try. I think it's made with beetroot juice, isn't it, to give it the red colour. And in some of the restaurants, top restaurants, even in Manchester, they make black pudding ice cream. Let's have a look at that. Oh, not on my watch. No, not on my watch. Over to this one, Emma. Over to this one. No, it's not for me. Black pudding ice cream made from blood. Can she? Ooh. Anyway, it's official drink break. Raise your glasses, everybody. Hey. Have you all got a nice drink tonight? I hope so. It's good to see you all. I'm glad to see you put your pants on this week. You know who I'm talking to. Same one every week. So cheers, everybody. Talking about... Where am I? Hello there. It's all right. Talking about having a drink. I think it's time to go to our first haunted pub. Shall we go to the Two Tubs? Let's go. Oh yes, we're down now in the cellar. That's why it's gone dark and a bit more atmospheric. You see what I'm doing? Got my torch out. There you go. So yeah, we're down in the cellar. Now this is the Two Tubs, and it's Bury's oldest public house. The actual public house above ground is supposed to date back to 1696. But where we are now, in the actual cellar, dates back 500 years. Now, the entire pub is held up by some beams. Let's have a look at one of them beams right now. And that beam, funny enough, well, amazingly enough, it came from a Spanish ship. And that Spanish ship actually fought in the Spanish Armada. Let's have a look at that as representation. Look at that. Yes. So, yeah, the entire pub's held up by a beam from a Spanish ship. Is it a galleon? A galleon ship, that's what I'm looking for. A galleon ship. So it's 500 years old. Now, as that video stopped, you see it stopped outside something that looked like a window with bars and that had been bricked up. Let's have a look at that again. I'm not sure if that's black pudding above the window there. You see that line? That's black pudding, isn't it? Or maybe it's not. Well, they're keen on it in Bury. Use it for insulation now. Yeah, well, you see there's a bit of a window there where there's bars on it, and that used to be a secret tunnel. And that tunnel used to lead under the ground and to the parish church opposite. It's amazing how many of these pubs used to have tunnels, isn't it, connecting? Because if you watched my previous one, especially the Middleton one, you'll know that there was a tunnel there linking the church as well. Now, it's supposed to be haunted, especially the cellar, by a man called, let me just get to my script, by a man called the Reverend Thomas Loyne. Now, the landlord has heard somebody shouting out his name from in the cellar. It just shouts out his name, John! And he looks around, there's nobody there. So it knows the new landlord's name. and he looks around, there's nobody there. He can sense that there's somebody in the cellar with him. And Thomas Loyne's been picked up by a few psychics that have been in there. In fact, he's so evil that a recent psychic who made contact with him said that he said to him, through his medium and his spirit guide, "I want to murder you." This Reverend Thomas Loyne is meant to be a very sinister character. That tunnel underneath the pub to the church used to be used to keep criminals inside, criminals that were going to be executed the next day. And apparently the Reverend Thomas Loyne was involved in that execution. And they went for the worst type of execution in Bury, which was being hung, drawn and quartered. We haven't touched on that in any of the performances so far. Hung, drawn and quartered, just for a bit of a laugh. Now, in front of the pub is an area which they used to call the Wild, and that's where they used to have public executions. So what happens when you're hung, drawn and quartered? Well, first of all, you're hung. Let's have a look at that. Here's a picture. Now, they hang you from a very small height so that you're choking slowly. They don't want you to drop suddenly and break your neck like in an execution through a trap door. It's all about choking you. So as you're sort of semi-conscious, the executioner gets a knife, cuts down your stomach and starts to pull out your intestines. In front of your very eyes, you can watch your intestines, and he'll cut some of them off, and sometimes used to fry them on an open fire and feed them to the person they were executing. How gory can you get? It wasn't about cutting out any organs that you would die immediately, because they didn't want you to die straight away. They wouldn't pull out your heart or anything like that straight away. Often they would cut off the gentleman's private part and stick that in his mouth, so that's absolutely horrific. And then to finish it, so that's your hung bit's the hung bit round the neck. The quartering is, the drawn bit. The drawn bit is about cutting down the stomach. And that final part is where they get horses, tie them round to your wrists and your ankles and pull you apart by horses. And that's the quartering bit. And that's used to happen in Bury, outside them pubs. And that was called the Wild. And this Reverend Thomas, he was a bugger for it. And apparently, he took some of them body parts that had been pulled apart and buried them in other people's graves in the graveyard of the parish church. So that's quite something, isn't it? So he's a very, very evil presence. And as I say, mediums and psychic pick up on Reverend Thomas Loyne regularly. Now, I like a good ghost. And I love horror films, as you know, as you all do out there. Let's go over to here a second. Now, there's lots of things about the nun, isn't there, in the horror films, the Conjuring films. There's not many films that have a spooky ghost reverend, is there? Well, I've got an excerpt here for you of my favourite one. And it's from a film called Poltergeist 2. Let's have a look at the Reverend Cain.
All right. I'll sing you a song till your mom comes back. God is in His holy temple. Earthly thought, be silent now, as we call upon His name, aiding every good intent, guiding us toward every
I don't know about you, but that terrifies me. Absolutely bloody terrifies me. And there's something really spooky, isn't it, about a ghost that's connected to God in some way of description, whether it be a nun or the Reverend Cain. Woof! But yes, so the parish church opposite, it's the highest point in Bury, and it's where the devil was sent back to hell. Oh yes, there's a picture of the parish church right now. And next to the parish church used to be Bury Grammar School. Now that was in the 1500s. It was next door to the parish church. It's moved now slightly, just I think it's about a quarter of a mile away. But when it used to be next door to there, the parish church was connected to the actual school. And this story goes back to the mid-1800s. Some naughty schoolboys, and I'm going to change my torch for this, I think. Oh, yes. Some naughty schoolboys, oh, that's good. Some naughty schoolboys were in the bedroom inside the grammar school, because it was a boarding school, And in their bedroom was a stone fireplace. And they got a book about necromancing and raising the devil. So they thought, oh, let's have a bit of a laugh like you do. And around midnight, they got the book out and started their incantations. And they managed to do it. The devil came down the chimney and out into the room. The boys screamed, ah! And they ran along the corridor and woke up their headmaster. Oh, yes. And their old headmaster was called Old Mr. Hodgson. And as they got into his room, they went, Mr. Hodgson, we've summoned the devil. And he didn't think they were being strange or stupid, because he could see by the fear on their faces that they must have done something like that. And as he turned round, the headmaster turned round, in the corner of his room sat the devil, inspecting his fingernails like this. I'll have a look on him. Inspecting his fingernails going like that. And he said, hello, you summoned me. You summoned me. You know what that means? I will take your souls. But then he said, but let's make it a bit of a game. You've got 3 challenges. If I win, I take your souls. If you win, I will leave you alone. So, old Mr. Hodgson thought about it. Thought, I've got to give him something complicated here so he doesn't take our souls. He said, right. He said, I want you to go to where the castle was, in the middle of Bury, and I want you to count the blades of grass around where the castle ruins are. So in a puff of smoke, the devil vanished. And as quickly as he vanished, in another puff of smoke, oh, I should give up smoking. Oh, he came back into the room. He went, easy. And he told him the correct number of blades of grass there was. Oh, Mr. Hodgson said, need to give him a bit more complicated then for the next challenge. He said, listen you devil. This school is built on sand. How many grains of sand was this school built on? The devil went, oh yeah. Watch this. I'm going to puff a smoke. The devil disappeared. And then as quick as a flash, he came back again. He went, easy. And he gave him the correct answer. And he went, you've got one more chance and I'm taking your souls. So Mr. Hodgson was going, I've got to get this right. He said, all right, devil. I want you to go back to the parish church. Let's look at the parish church again. Go back to the parish church. Enter through the main doors. Walk up to the pulpit. On the pulpit is a big black leather-bound Bible. So the devil went up to the Bible. With his cloven hoof, he turned over the first page. And he started to count, because he said, I want you to count how many letters in the Bible, then come back and tell me. So the devil was there, moved over it with his hoof, started counting the letters. A bit like when people suffer from dyslexia, I believe this sounds like, but all the letters were moving around and jiggling about, and he couldn't count how many there was. He screamed, ah! Ran back into the boy's bedroom and went back in a puff of smoke right up the fireplace. That's a little illustration of what it looked like. And he was so angry when he went into the fireplace, he made a big crack down the stone. And that crack was in the stone for years and years and years. And he used to tell all the children that came to the boarding school, if you're badly behaved, so that crack, the devil will come out of it and get you. So they were absolutely bloody terrified. The school moved. That fireplace was knocked down. However, there was a stone above the fireplace that said 1625, and they reclaimed it. And now, where the Bury Grammar School stands, a little picture here of it, you'll see there's a clock tower now. Just underneath that, they managed to put that stone. Let's have a closer look at it. And it says 1625. And that is known now as the Devil Stone. And they still say to the students, keep godly, keep to the path of the righteous, and don't mess with the occult, because that is the Devil Stone. Ooh, it's a good story, that isn't it? Thank you. Raise your glass, everybody. Let's have a little drink. So we've had devils, we've had ghosts. It's bloody good berry for things, isn't it? Who'd have thought? Anyway, I know you're all churchgoers out there, like my good self, and we're never out, are we? Well, obviously the coronavirus has put bugger that, but we're always there. Very godly people we are. And it's time to go to another church. Let's go to this one. Off we go. And this is called the Holy Trinity Church. And unfortunately, it's derelict and it's rotting. I find that interesting. There was headlines of the Bury paper. It said rotting church. I found that a bit spooky. So the rotting church, it's derelict, and one of the previous people that used to preach there was Edward Horden. Edward Horden. And I'm a massive fan of M.R. James. Hammer horror films, M.R. James, love it. M.R. James used to write the most fantastic ghost stories. You can watch them all on YouTube. They're fantastic. He used to have a Christmas collection, Ghost Stories for Christmas. The best out of all of them was one called Whistle and I Will Come to You. And it starred an actor called Michael Horden, and he is the son of Edward Horden, who used to preach at that church. So there's a connection there to Bury. I'm a massive fan of Michael Horden. If you get any of the audio books of M.R. James, Michael Horden reads most of the stories out. And here, if you don't know it, is a bit of an excerpt that I've created of Whistle and I Will Come to You. Have a watch of this.
He's best known for his ghost stories, all of which have a peculiar atmosphere of cranky scholarship. The darkest of them is called Whistle and I'll Come to You.
Who is this? Who is coming? Well, we shall blow it and see.
Have you all seen Whistle and I Will Come to You? It's absolutely wonderful. It's quite old now, as you can see. I think it was filmed in black and white on purpose, though, I believe. There's been a remake of it, but that is just superior. And if you watch it, you'll never forget it. It's really, really chilling. And it's there on YouTube to watch for free. So fill your boots. Watch it tonight at midnight. It'll put the willies up you. And it's only on for about 40 minutes, so you don't have to spend that long on it, but it's really, really brilliant. So, his dad used to preach in Bury. Let's go back over here. Some of you music fans now, and actors. So let's talk about actors, Michael Horden. There's a theatre in Bury, and loads of famous people have played there. Mainly comedians. Eddie Izzard started his career there. Steve Coogan, Peter Kay. And it's called the Bury Met. Let's have a look at the Bury Met. And it's a beautiful building. I've been many, many times to watch stuff there. I love going there. It's absolutely wonderful. And it actually dates back to the 1840s when it was actually called the Derby Hall. And it was named after the Earl of Derby. And he had it built. And that's why it's called the Derby Hall, because it's nowhere near Derby. And it changed its name in 1979 to Bury Met. And it's infamous for the Bury Riot. It was opened as Bury Met in 1979. In 1980, the hottest band at the time was booked to play there. Let's have a look at the actual flyer. And it's circled there, a band called Joy Division. You can see that, can't you, right now? Joy Division. And they played there in 1980. They were such a hot band, and Ian Curtis was such an idol to many people that it sold out within seconds. 400 capacity audience, that's all it could hold. And they're all inside there getting excited, waiting for Joy Division to come on stage. And somebody opened a fire door. There was 200 people outside that couldn't get tickets. They all charged in, so it was mega full, dangerously full in fact. People were getting a bit bad-tempered because they were pushing into each other. And then, when Joy Division came on stage, Ian Curtis, the lead singer, was nowhere to be seen. There was a guy standing in for him and he was doing the set, so he started singing. And obviously the audience were going berserk, going, what's going on here? We're paid to watch Ian Curtis here. Ian Curtis was backstage, and the reason for this was that, he was a very depressed character, was Ian Curtis. He tried to commit suicide on a few occasions, and only the night before he'd had another failed attempt. So he was unwell, but he did turn up with a band. He was backstage. This other guy went on, and when he heard all the audience going berserk out there, really getting annoyed when the other singer was on, he decided he'd have to go out. So he went on and he finished the set. I think he did the last 2 songs. And then a riot took place. Bottles flying everywhere, punches. And I watched this film quite a few years ago. It's a film called Control. You may have seen it's a really good film about Joy Division and Ian Curtis. And this is what happened in Bury Met. Here's a little excerpt for you.
You know the words to our songs, don't you? Most. You don't. You what? Get out here, mate.
I got this bruise of feeling that I smile.
So that's what happened inside Bury Met. It was a little bit dramatised, but still it gives you a rough idea of what happened, doesn't it? It's a great film, by the way, if you want to watch it. Control. And yeah, apparently that was one of Ian Curtis's last performances, because unfortunately about a month later he succeeded in committing suicide. He hung himself in his house in the kitchen from where they used to hang washing. You know, what are they called again? You know, one of them things that you hang washing on that used to go right across the kitchen.
Yeah,
with
is it a dolly or...
A dolly or something with wooden slats. He hung himself on one of those. So he, unfortunately, he succeeded. And he died at the age of 23. It was on the eve of before they were going to go to America, and they reckon they would have broken America. And Peter Hook and all them people that still, you know, went on to form New Order were still bitter about that because they had all their dreams just taken away. But he had his life taken away. Died at 23. And... he's buried in Macclesfield. Let's have a look at his grave. Now, I love the Joy Division. And I love this song. And they've got it on his gravestone. So let's stay on that for a second. And it says on his gravestone, "Love will tear us apart." Now, I'd love to play that song for you right now. But because Facebook and YouTube, we haven't got copyright to it, it'll probably remove the video afterwards. So it's not worth doing. So let's all... raise a glass to Ian Curtis and have a little sing-song. And raise your glass, everybody. And let's have a... Love, love will tear us apart again. Love, love will tear us apart again. Cheers, Ian. Fantastic. It's a good name, Ian, isn't it, actually? Now then. So there's Ian Curtis and the Bury Riot, which was famous. We're going to have a change of colour now for this next one. Oh, yes. Now then, how many... Well, that works well. Red and green. How many places in Greater Manchester or Manchester have a story about a dragon? Not many. And I think this would be a one-off, really. But we couldn't believe it when we found out this story. But, yes, there's an area of Bury... Many, it sounds a bit like an episode of Game of Thrones, this. But many years ago, should we do that wobbly bit? We go, many years ago. Many years ago, there was a settlement on the edge of Bury. And all the people that live there, the little settlers, that's the name for settlers in a settlement, isn't it? Yes. One day, this beautiful woman came walking into the settlement. She said, "Is it possible you could put me up for 3 nights?" They went, "Oh, yes, certainly." Especially the fellas, because they all fancied her, you know what I mean? They all fancied a bit of, how's your father, I think. Bit of how's your father. So they all said, "Oh, please stay." She was stunning. Copper-coloured hair, she had apparently. Copper-coloured hair. So, yes, they said, "Stay, yes, stay, you're more than welcome." The wives are going, You can imagine the faces, can't you? But she got on great with the children as well, and especially the leader's son. The leader had a little boy. And she befriended him, and just before she left on the 3rd day, she said, "Come for a walk. Let's go for a walk in the forest." So she took him into the forest. It sounds a bit like Snow White, this, but she went, "And am I?" Well, she wasn't a witch, so she went, "Little boy."
Don't do that again.
That's a sexy woman. You never get that out of your head, will you? little boy, would you like an apple? And she placed an apple, give him a bright green, not like Snow White with a red one, a bright green apple. He said, oh, would I? And he took the apple, he munched at it, and they were out of season with apples, so he thought, oh, this is a rare treat. And as he ate it, she started to laugh. Wait, hang on a minute. And then a puff of smoke. Brought it to life for you again, haven't I? Oh, my eyes. It stings, it burns, it burns. In a puff of smoke, she disappeared, this beautiful woman. And as the boy ate the apple, it went down. Oh, yes, he ate the core as well, because they did in them days, not like us soft buggers, cut the core out. They used to eat the core as well. I used to know somebody who did that. It was pretty strange. And the pips. And they used to get tins of salmon and eat the bones out of this. But I digress. It was what are we up to? Oh, yeah. Swallowed the core into his stomach. And as it went into his stomach, a little worm was in the middle of the core of the apple. And that crawled out of the apple, crawled through his stomach, and entered the root of his spine. And it stayed there for 35 years. Let's move forward about 40 years. Because now this young boy was an adult, big strapping fella, and he was now the leader of the community. And one day, he felt this horrible pain in his spine. Excruciating pain. And he ran screaming into the woods. And as he got in the woods, something started to happen. He could feel something twisting and turning and clawing and spreading out in his back. He could feel it gnawing at him and burning, and the pain was agony. And it twisted and turned until he himself turned into a worm. And when I say worm, I mean a bloody gigantic worm that could breathe fire. He turned into a dragon. Now, at that point, he come walking out of the woods. Is that what dragons do? He comes wibbling out of the woods on its stomach. They don't have legs, do they? Oh, they do have legs, don't they?
Yeah.
Come crawling out of the woods as a bloody massive dragon. And he thought, I'm a bit peckish. And he started to eat all the sheep and the wild and the livestock in the fields. And they thought, I fancy a bit of human. So he went to his own settlement and started to attack his own people, gobbling them down like you do. And they were trying to fight him off with spears and clubs, and this went on for 7 long weeks. He would reappear again and start attacking everybody. All the berry was afraid of this dragon. 7 weeks it went on for, 7 long weeks, day and night. And some of them said, when they saw the dragon, the ones that hadn't been eaten, they said, it's funny because he looks a little bit like, its facial expression looks a bit like our old leader who disappeared 7 weeks ago. They just thought he got eaten himself, you know what I mean? Anyway, 7 weeks went by, and then he transformed back into the leader again. He transformed back. Billy Bollock naked, the leader comes strutting out of the woods, in the nip, totally confused, didn't know what had happened for the last 7 weeks at all, went back to his people, and they said, where have you been? He said, I have no idea. Anyway, they sort of got over the trauma of it all, but they never spoke of it again. The leader went on to have his own family. And then 14 generations later, one of his relatives, same thing happened to him, got this pain in his spine. Started to twist and turn till he turned into a big worm, a big bloody fire-breathing worm, and he attacked his own settlement yet again, or a village by that point. It had grown up by then, 14 generations. And it went on again for 7 long weeks, day and night, and then it disappeared again. He just turned back into a human. And this went on for 14 generations again, until it got to a time which was in 1845. The same line of the family in 1845, there was a young man called Thomas. And he was with his father in his house one day, and his father said, I've got a pain in my back. It's really bad, it's killing me. So he ran off trying to get medical help. So he left his dad at home, went off trying to find a doctor. When he come back, his dad was nowhere to be seen. Then he could hear all this commotion outside. So he had looked out of his window, and all the locals were being chased by this massive, great big dragon. And all the the locals were starting to put their suits of armour on. People from the bigger houses, the mansions around, put on their suits of armour and got on their horses with their longer sticks. What do they call them, sticks?
Spears.
No, them things that they have on the lances. Yes, lance. Running along with the lances. And they were all trying to attack this dragon, and they were sticking a lance in, but it had such strong scales, they were just snapping the lances. And I'm afraid a few people out there, I like to find a piss and poo alert, so let's have it. Piss and poo alert. Here we go. Well, it's just actually poo this time. It is documented that this dragon will just pick up each of these knights in armour in one go, pop them in his mouth, and then shit out the armour straight behind him. So yes, eat him, shit out the armour. And that's when Tony got all these knights. Everybody challenged him. He ate every single knight that challenged him. Anyway, Thomas in his house thought, oh my God, I've got to do something about this. Said my dad could be out there. And he found his dad's suit of armour. It was a black suit of armour. It looked right cool. He put it on. He thought, oh, I'm looking pretty good. And he got his dad's musket, which is like a big rifle. And he also got a dagger, which he put by his side. And he went outside, he got his dad's horse, and he started chasing after the dragon. Look at that. You think you were there, wouldn't you? Chasing after the dragon. Off he went like this. Caught up to the dragon and went, oi, dragon! It turned round and he just saw in the dragon's mouth 3 children just being swallowed. He said, I've got to do something about this, I've got to do. And then he noticed, as it was chewing these children, that it had similar features to his own father. He thought, that's strange. He thought, but I've got to do something about this. I've got to send this dragon back to hell. Oh, and he did. He knew that people couldn't get through its scales with spears, or even bullets were bouncing off it. But he thought, I've got an idea. So he got his dagger, stuck it in the end of his musket, aimed it, and he said, oi, dragon! It popped his head up and thought, yes. And he shot the dagger and it went straight into the dragon's throat, ripped his throat apart, and the dragon just collapsed to the floor, dead. I'm waiting for you. I'm waiting. You're not here yet. Well, what?
No, I'm showing the picture of the dragon and
Oh, sorry, I was waiting for my audience. Oh, yes. Yeah, there it is. Oh, I do apologise. Let's go on this one. Yes, so, you've just seen a picture of it. I made that myself. I should have been an artist. Piss artist. Yes, so yes, he killed the dragon. After all them generations which it terrorised, he managed to kill it and actually do the right thing. And but he was distraught how it did have the face of his father. And then he took the dagger that he cut the dragon's throat with, and he carved into a wooden table these carvings. Now these are illustrations of the carvings, and the top one, as you can see, it's got yeah, it's just a normal kind of dragon, but the bottom one is what he represented, what it looked like. It had his father's face. So that it can still be seen. It's still in the generations of that family. And that man was called Thomas Unsworth. And they decided to name that settlement and that village after that man. So that place in Bury has been called Unsworth ever since. We've got a friend who runs the Nottingham Ghost Walk called Simon Unsworth, and I'm wondering whether, if he's watching tonight, whether that's a relative of yours. But that's why it's called Unsworth, and they defeated the Bury Dragon. Oh yes! Now, there used to be a pub in that area called the Dragon. Unfortunately, it's now a spa shop apparently. But there still is a dragon that comes into Bury now and again, and it's called the Red Dragon. Let's have a look at it. It's a beautiful, beautiful steam train. And yes, Bury is known for its steam trains. Come back to me. Let's have a different colour. Shall we have a little drink before we carry on? Raise your glasses, everybody. Raise your glasses. Are you enjoying yourselves? Me too. Never knew Bury had so much in it. Cheers, everybody. Hope you've got something nice to drink. I'm back on the red wine this week, not Aperol Spritz. Give me a bit of Windy Pops. So, I'm on the old red wine. But yes, Bury Station. Bury Bolton Street Station. Not where you get off the Metrolink. Bury Bolton Street Station. If you go along, let's look at the outside of it, Emma. And that's the outside of the station. Now, you see there's a big placard on that picture you're looking at right now. And if you can see, that's something they do for the kids. That's they turn it into a Thomas the Tank Engine for a while. I think that's when the school holidays, but it won't be happening this year by the looks of things, will it? They also turn it into a Santa train, and when she comes back to me, I'll tell you. Yes, it's sometimes turned into a Santa train, and we've been on that, haven't we, Emma?
We have.
We have. Have you seen Buggerlugs tonight? Have you not shown the people? Let's have a look at you. Here she is. There she is, everybody. Little Buggerlugs behind the camera. All right. She's camera shy tonight. She's not put her makeup on. So.
Cheeky sod, I have.
Oh, she has. Sorry, that's her with makeup on. I was shining a white light on you. It took it. Oh, I'm in trouble now. So yes.
That's it. You're fired. Get yourself.
Get yourself another Buggerlugs.
That's it.
Next, they do a Santa train. Now, me and Buggerlugs went on it a couple of years ago. It was a great experience. You go on and if Santa comes down, gives you presents. You have mulled wine and mince pies. I will say, however, that when you're on the train, you can't see how beautiful the train is because you're on it, looking out of it. And last year we went on a train in Scarborough, which was absolutely magical. But Bury is really well known for its steam train. I bet loads of you out there have been on the Bury steam train. And they have open days where all these steam trains come in, like the Red Dragon you've just seen a minute ago. But then one of the most popular things they do is they make a ghost train from it. And here's the Halloween poster. And yeah, the Halloween ghost, and they light it all up, and it's beautiful looking, isn't it? They have these actors on, not as good as me, obviously, but they have actors on. I've always wanted to go, but obviously it's my busiest time of year is Halloween, so I'm always performing for my Fleckers and Flecky'S out on the streets. Wonder if we will this year. Who knows? With the R rating going up, we might be still in at October at this rate. But yes, so they turn it into all different things. Santa train and Thomas the Tank and Halloween. But let's go on the station now, and there's a beautiful old waiting room. Let's go and have a look at it. As you can see, it's a buffet. They use it as a buffet now as well. But out of all the places you could imagine, it's haunted. Who would have thought that would be haunted? Now, it's haunted by two spirits. A couple of years ago, this old man was taking a picture of his grandson. And when they looked at the photograph afterwards, they could see a hooded man sat next to the grandson, who wasn't there, obviously, because you wouldn't have took the picture otherwise, would he? And it's been seen by a few people like a hooded figure, like the Grim Reaper. And there's been a few accidents on that train station over the years, so who knows? But the most common ghost there is called Billy the Guard. And he's an elderly guard. He's seen in his full uniform. Apparently he loved his job when he was there, and you can tell now if you go there, the people love it with a passion. They're all sort of friends of Bury Station these days, and they absolutely love it. And let's have a look at the ghost. That's my representation. That is actually one of the guards from that station from many years ago. Don't think it's Billy the Guard, but and that's a rare picture because mostly when he's seen as a ghost, he's seen asleep. So he's a terrifying sleeping ghost. They don't get scarier than that. So we're lucky to see him there actually awake. But shall we go on a train ride? Now, when I talk about Bury, there is different boroughs of Bury as well. So we're going to go to one of the boroughs of Bury. We're all going to go on a steam train right now. If you've not been on it, I've tried to bring a bit of virtual reality to tonight's performance. Let's get on the train, all aboard, and we're going to go to Ramsbottom. Off we pop. Woo-hoo. Yes, did you enjoy that little journey there on the old steam train? Good pipage. Yes, Have you ever been up a Ramsbottom? Well, you're about to. I love that gag. So yes, we're now in Ramsbottom. We've just stopped. That little video just stopped outside. Well, it used to be a pub, and in 2018 it closed down. And it is called the Grant... Well, it was called, sorry, the Grant Arms Hotel. Let's have a look at it. Oh, you're looking at it right now. That's the Grant Arms Hotel, how it used to be. As I say, it shut down 2 years ago. Apparently, it was on an episode of The Hotel Inspector with... can't remember her name now. What's her name? Pility. Itsy Pilitsy. Itsy Bitsy. I don't know, something like that.
Teeny weeny yellow
Teeny
polka dot.
It was on an episode of that when they were trying to save it, so it's gone through a lot of trouble in its time, but it's gone now, unfortunately. I think it's an office now. But yes, in that hotel, they've had a few strange people there. They had Ian Brady had a party there, you know, from the Moor murderers. So it's had a bit of a strange history, but it's haunted by an old lady. Now, one night, obviously it had accommodation upstairs, because it is a hotel and a bar, and one of the old ladies was taken ill, and they called for the local doctor, or the doctor was on call anyway, and he turned up, and they left him on his own with the old lady in the top room, and then he said she should be okay by the next morning, and he left, and then when they went to find her the next morning, she was dead. They just thought she'd died in her sleep of natural causes because she was very elderly. And she's been haunting that hotel ever since. They've seen her ghost wandering up and down the corridors. Now, that doctor that came to visit her was none other than Harold Shipman. Yes, and she's believed to be one of Harold Shipman's victims. Now, you know, you can't help talk about these people. I don't want to make him any more famous, and I know there's people out there which have got many relatives that are connected, so I don't want to be disrespectful, but I just have to tell you a little bit about Harold Shipman. He is actually the world's biggest serial killer. 250 people they believe he actually murdered. Most of them, 80%, were elderly ladies. And he did that for several reasons. Because he changed some of their wills, so he was getting money as well from them. And the youngest person was a 41-year-old man, but they believe he also might have done it with children as young as 2 years of age. He did it for certain reasons. One, that he believed he was helping them because his own mother had died of cancer when he was very young, and he watched how when they injected her with morphine, it helped her. So he believed he was playing God in a way, to be honest, playing God, and he was also changing the wills and getting some of the money as well. So he he got captured when the funeral parlour that most of his patients went to, they thought it's a bit strange. There's a lot of these death certificates signed by Harold Shipman, much more than anybody else. So they contacted the police. They found out about this will that had been altered. They found the typewriter that he altered it with in his flat. And then it went from there, and they exhumed some of the people, and they found out there was heroin that had been injected into their bodies. So he seems to be the most prolific serial killer in history, and the only British doctor to be ever convicted of murdering his patients. And that's what they believe happened in that hotel. He murdered one of the guests. He went to prison. Something like he got convicted of 41 murders. They couldn't prove the other ones, and he had 41 life sentences, so he was never going to get out. And on the eve of his 58th birthday, he hung himself in his cell from his bed sheets from the window frame. And so he took his own life. He took his own life, and that was to get the insurance to make sure that he get his pension for his wife, who by then was disowned him. So he was a strange man, was Harold Shipman, and thank God there's not many doctors. He changed, the law was changed after Shipman, that doctors have to go through a long process now if they want to go and visit somebody who's in a lot of pain before they inject him with morphine and everything like that. So the law changed for the better, but that was Harold Shipman, and gone but not forgotten, I suppose. Let's change the subject. Let's go back to food for a little moment, and our favourite food from Bury. Got all the way to Ramsbottom, which is a borough of Bury. The old black pudding again. And in Bury, they do an amazing thing. I kid you not, they have the World Championship of Black Pudding Throwing. So, we're going to show you what happens now. It looks like great fun. Ooh. Let's have a look.
That's a good one.
Doesn't that look like good fun? Black pudding throwing. So it all goes back to the War of the Roses, actually, when Lancashire was fighting Yorkshire. Yeah, so the Yorkshire puddings represent Yorkshire, the black puddings represent Lancashire, and that's us Lancashire people knocking the Yorkshire puddings off the top thing. So we're winning over the Yorkshire people. Anybody from Yorkshire's watching? I believe Mad Alice from York might be watching tonight. Have you ever been on her tours, Mad Alice? Oh, yeah, she's very good. And she's a Yorkshire lass, but we know who's the best, us Lancashire people. So if you ever do go to York, go on the bloody tour of York. She's fantastic. So yes, black pudding throwing is a little world championship that they hold there in Bury. I'd like to have a go, wouldn't you? So shall we go back on the train again for another journey? I think so. Let's go this time from Upper Ramsbottom to Rottenstall. Here we go. Hold tight, ladies and gentlemen. Hold tight. So we're now in Rottenstall. Shall we raise our glasses, everybody? Have a drink. Come on now. We're coming up to the last stories. Delicious. Could you top that one up for me, please, Bugger Looks? Just stay with me for a moment while I'm just sending off to top me a little bottle up. Oh, how are you doing? Are you having a nice drink out there? Oh, yes, I can see you. That's nearly a full bottle of wine you've had tonight, you. Shaky. Top me glass up, love. So, yes, we've gone on the steam train now. Only on Flecky Bennett's virtual ghost walks can you go on a little train journey, isn't that right? So, have you been to Rottenstall, anybody? It's a beautiful little place. One of my ex-girlfriends was in Rottenstall. She was very small, only 4'11". Didn't know I could stoop that low. So, yes. I don't know. So, yes, we've got off the train in Rottenstall. And we're going to go to a little place there called Orncliffe Manor. Let's have a look at it. Sorry, Orncliffe Mansion, should I say. And look at it, it's beautiful. And it's been derelict for quite some time now. It's been derelict for quite some time. And they don't even know what to do with it. And as you can see inside, look at it, it's going to rack and ruin. And the only people that ever go there these days are urban explorers. Last year, 3 urban explorers went inside there, and as you can see, it's quite rotten and stuff like that, and they said the smell of rotting wood and rubbish and rust was overwhelming. However, they were there, stood in one of the rooms, one of the main rooms, and they were doing a bit of photography. And as they were trying to photograph things, they heard these footsteps running towards them, as clear as anything. Like angry, fast footsteps, and they were going, oh my God, what's coming? And they just went straight through them and disappeared behind them. They all searched around the house, the mansion, and they found nothing. There was nobody else definitely there. So that spooked them. But as they're in one of the rooms, they could sense there was something in the corner of the room. They couldn't see it with their own eyes, so they all got their digital cameras out. Now, we like a good ghost photo, don't we? And we catch many on my performances, but these I think these are pretty special. These made all the national press. So when they got back home, one of the lads was looking at his photographs, and he witnessed this. So first of all, it's from quite a far away. Let's have a look at it. So that's one of the urban explorers there, and that's a circle there showing the face. So if we're going a little bit closer, and you can see it really does look like a face, doesn't it? He said he thought it looked like a little boy. I think it looks like a man, really. And then if you go around the next one, I think you can really see it. So to me, that looks like a proper face. And they don't know who it is. They don't know where the faces come from. They don't know who's supposed to haunt there. But it did make the press everywhere. But it's a beautiful, beautiful old mansion. I never knew about it, so I did a little bit of research. So that is our little trip around the outskirts of Bury, the borough of Bury. So it's time to go back to Bury now. Let's get on the train again. Ooh, ooh, all aboard. Welcome back to Bury Station. I hope you enjoyed your little trip out there. I thoroughly did, because we haven't been getting out much, have we? Oh no. Now, before I finish, talking about steam trains. You might have seen this video before, actually. I went to Haworth, you know where the Bronte sisters are from? I went to Haworth about, is it 3 years ago? Something like that. And they've got a steam railway there. And I booked myself on the train. It was the middle of a Monday afternoon. Because obviously I don't usually work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It's usually Thursday, Friday, Saturdays I work. But on a Monday afternoon, I booked myself on the train. It's a train that was used in the Railway Children. And I swear to God, you've got to believe me, I don't lie to people, I really don't. I'm being honest with you now. I was in the carriage, it was a summer's day. I had the entire carriage to myself, right? I was only videoing out of the window at the scenery going past. And I thought nothing of it. And then I was watching the footage back a couple of days later. And to me, and I don't know about you, you can hear, as clear as anything, a little girl's voice saying, and I quote, "Hello, Flecky." Let me just repeat that to you again. "Hello, Flecky." And I didn't hear anything at the time, but you can definitely hear it on this. So let me just play that clip for you. I've got it the normal speed, and then I've slowed it down a little bit. So let's have a listen to it one time. Let's have a listen. I think that's a pipe moment, isn't it? Interesting. Did it actually happen? Can you hear it out there? Well, we'll look at your comments after, but it'd be good to know if you can hear it. It says, as clear as anything, "Hello, Flecky. Hello, Flecky. Hello, Flecky." Put the shits up me, I can tell you. So, my friends, that's our trip to Bury. Hope you've enjoyed yourself. Oh, yes. So what's next time going to be? Well, I think we were going to look at Reddish and Denton for the next one. Local areas. I'm also thinking about Rochdale and Macclesfield coming up. But I hope you've enjoyed it. If you can donate anything tonight, I would really appreciate it, because there's still no sign of me being able to go back out there on the streets. This is keeping us going doing these. As I said, it takes us 2 weeks to research them, to perform it, for me to rehearse it. So I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've enjoyed my new hat. I'm not sure I'm going to wear this on the outside, because it's too good for wearing outside. You're going to get some hen or a stag whipping it off my head, because it's a bit loose, you know what I mean? But I like it here. Yes, have you seen the film? The Shining 2. Oh, very good. Doctor Sleep. But yes, I hope you enjoyed it. Please donate if you can. I think Emma's going to put the Buglugs are going to put the things up for us.
Yeah. Well,
So
I've done the PayPal.
yeah, PayPal if you can, and then if you can't,
Social media.
social media. Look at that. Oh, it's all there. Look at it. Oh, I can see it. I can see it all coming up on the screen now. Yeah, so if you have trouble using PayPal, please just go on manchestergoldspot.co.uk onto the Facebook Live events. There's a link there to pay by any debit or credit card. PayPal's the easiest, but if you can do that, if you can put friends or family, that stops PayPal taking any kind of payment out of it, but that's up to you, because I understand. But I know if you're like me and you're a self-employed actor or anything like that and you're struggling, I understand it's a difficult time for us all. So, it's Q&A time. Let's end this for now and let's have a Q&A. I just want to talk a little bit about somebody that's left a comment a few minutes ago. It's a good thing, not a bad thing. Julie has been a big follower of mine right from word go. Julie Parker, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, Julie Parker. She said that Shipman used to be her GP when she lived in Hyde.
Yeah.
And she lived opposite a graveyard where lots of these bodies had to be exhumed to test them. So you see, I ain't telling lies. I hope you've enjoyed it tonight. I've enjoyed it thoroughly. So have you got any questions? Oh, we'll have a look now. Emma's just looking through it. Cheers, everybody. Have a drink on me. Yes, I think I might.
Thanks, Phil.
What's that? Any stories?
No, he says it's not a question, but this was amazing.
Did you enjoy it? Oh, yes, I've got my little glasses back on there. I've had a great time. I mean, when we first decide on the area we're going to cover, we don't know if there's going to be anything any good there, you know what I mean? We're just guessing really at first, and then when you look into it, this had dragons, devils, ghosts. I mean, you can't mock it, and black puddings. So, anybody got any questions for me? Emma's looking through now because it does move a bit fast.
It does. Again, Lola says, why not do a Preston one?
Listen, Lola, I might do. But for now...
The Determined. She says, call it the Homecoming.
Flecky Bennett, the Homecoming. Well, would you people out there like to know about Preston? Let me put it back to you, my Fleckers and Fleckettes, because most of you are from the Northwest and Manchester region, but Preston's got some great stories. I'm thinking about going further afield. I'm thinking about maybe doing one in Haworth, because there's some great stories regarding the Nolan sisters. No, not Nolan sisters. The Bronte sisters. Let's get it right.
Joshua Crowther says, where do you do your research? Do you have to go to any places?
Well, you know, when I first started in the Ghost Walk in 2009, I kid you not, I did not have a computer. I don't think they were really around at that point. I had to go into Manchester Central Library and find out ghost stories and history from the books, and then write it down or photocopy it, and then that's how I did it. And then things got easier over the years, and now it's just start off with Wikipedia first of all. Wikipedia, what it says for Bury, and then look at the little details, and it is definitely, let me get my pipe out, you do feel like Sherlock Holmes really, because as you go through each little bit of the clue, you pick up clues, and you go down different levels. And basically, this is how we do it anyway. We get the basic information of a place, and then Buggerlugs will then look at, say for tonight, like the Unsworth Dragon, the story about that. And she'll look into it on a wider story of that. And then I'll look into it and try to get down to the nitty gritty. Excuse me. And then we try to outdo each other, really. I think I've got all the research, and then we'll come on, but have you seen this? Like last night she came up and said, have you seen this one? There's a little song about the Unsworth Dragon. So we go further and further down. It's like being a detective. It really is. You've got to starting point, then work your way down. There's so many different levels to get down. Literally, so many different layers, and that's how we do it.
Gemma says, Mike asks, would you consider urbexing yourself?
I've been offered so many times. I don't know. Not literally. Well, I've got a friend called Phil Catling, and he's called the Tunnel Inspector. Sounds a bit kinky, I know. The Tunnel Inspector. And last Friday he actually did an online event himself, and he's the person that got me into the largest survey shelters in the world in Stockport, where I do my tours. Well, where I did my tours until it opens again, and. He's really into all tunnels. He travels all over the country and Europe, and I think he's been to America. He loves underground places. And for instance, I only found out last week on his. Now I know there's some people from Stockport that watch me, and they've been on my. I have loads of performances in Stockport. I've got the Staircase, the Ghost Walk, the Bramwell Hall, the air raid shelters. I didn't realise that when you're standing in the centre of Stockport, you know, in the shopping centre, or say for instance you're in the Three Shires pub, you're standing on the world's largest bridge. Did you know that? It absolutely flabbergasted me. Where I meet my audience outside the Plaza Super Cinema in Stockport, you're standing on the world's largest bridge at that point. Underneath your feet, it was built over the River Mersey, as probably you know, because there's a cut-out bit in the centre of Stockport town centre now where you can look at the water underneath. But all that is one massive bridge that it's all built on, and it's the largest in the world. Flabbergasted. Well, your answer to your question was the tunnel inspector, he has a group and they get proper licences and public liability insurance as long as you're a member and you sign a disclaimer to take you into wonderful places. For instance, under the streets of Stockport, underneath the shopping arcade, under the tunnels next to the River Mersey. So I'm hoping to do that with him. So I won't go with Urbex's because, you know, I value my life a little bit. And I'm getting on a bit now. I'm 452, so it's not easy, you know. I don't want to pull a muscle. So I'll probably go with Phil if on some of his official ones, if you know what I mean. Any other questions?
Deb says, when we're released, it would be good if you could host a ghost train kind of thing.
Ghost train, what manner? Like an actual ghost train with carriages that go round? Is that our Debs?
Yeah, our Debs.
Yeah, you see, I'd love. And I mean, if there's any businessmen out there, and I know some people do watch me, business types, I'm always thinking, you know, they've got a York dungeon, they've got an Edinburgh dungeon, they've got a London dungeon. Why have they not got a Manchester dungeon? Well, if there's not a Manchester dungeon, why not have sort of a haunted dart ride and Flecky Bennett's haunted house? I'd love to do something like that because I love ghost trains with little carriages and stuff like that. So who knows, but I know they tried similar things at Halloween. They did one in the AMC, sort of like a walk-through ghost train, and it wasn't, I don't know if it was a big success or not. It never came back after the first year. And they tried to do one in Blackpool, an old-fashioned ghost train. It lasted for a few seasons. And I've got a friend called Kurt Walsh who had the sort of a ghost train walk-through in Blackpool, the horror crypt. And he's been forced out, really, because of the rents and stuff, you know. So it's difficult. And having no premises over my head, it's a bit easier to survive. I would never have survived this, you know, the COVID-19 as a business if it weren't that I don't have buildings to pay for and rent, but I do have to support myself. So on that note, give generously if you can. You didn't hear that, that was subliminal. Any more questions? Well, before we go.
No, not really, just people commenting and...
Well, you've all had a great time.
Yeah, Karen Joels did, sorry.
Oh, hello, Karen.
Do you feel like you're more sensitive towards seeing and hearing ghosts?
Yeah, I think so, Karen. I like to look at both the sides of it, though. I like to look at the scientific side and the paranormal side. I really do, and that's what I explain in all my performances. Because I don't want to get tired with these people that just believe it's paranormal, you know, because you've got a lot of people out there that don't believe in the paranormal, and you just, you know, there's lots of trolls out there, and I don't want to pick one side or the other, really. I like to stay in between. I've witnessed things, and my audience witnessed things, the things we can't explain, but then other things we can explain. For instance, like on that picture you just looked at for that manor in Rottenstall. Faces. You know, our brains try to make faces out of everything, you know, out of bricks. And so is it to do with our brains trying to make faces and everything, or is that actually a person's face that's been captured? It's hard to say. I keep an open mind, you know. My granddad said something that was really, really stuck with me all my life, really, because I said, why do you believe in God? Why do you believe, you know, and things like that? He said, listen, if believing in God's helped me through my life, and when I die, there is no God, I've lost nothing. But if I've gone through life not believing in anything, I've had nothing to help me, then I've lost out. Because it's quite true, isn't it? You believe in something, and when you die, if there is nothing, you've lost nothing. But if something helps you through your life, and a lot of people that come on my performances, you know, they really do believe in the paranormal, they believe in ghosts, they believe in the Ouija board. I believe half and half. I believe some of it can be explained and other bits can't, and I've seen that. So, Karen, I'm a bit of both, really. I'm open to listen to the scientific side of things as well. Really am. So, anything else, Emma?
Michael Collins.
Hello, Michael.
Would you like to meet one of the people that you talk about?
What, one of the ghosts to talk about? Be interesting, wouldn't it? Be interesting to see if they do. Well, I kind of have on the Ouija board, on the... I'm not sure if you've done the Chorlton one, Michael. I think you probably have. But I do one in Chorlton Come Hardy. Sounds kinky, but it's not. It means Chorlton by the trees. And we'll be back to that as soon as we can. But we do a seance in the old police station. We tried to contact a policeman that was murdered many, many years ago by the country's most prolific serial killer before Jack the Ripper. And it was called Charles Peace. and we do a Ouija board session, and Charles Peace came through on the Ouija board, apparently. I mean, I don't touch the board because you think I was pushing it and it was fixed, and the audience just put their fingers on, but he said he was in the room with us, so I kind of think I have in some ways, but who knows. But yeah, I'd love to meet Elvis. Ooh, be great, wouldn't it? So my friends, I hope you've had a great night. If you can give generously, please do. I've loved it again. Hope to see you soon. What I'm going to do in the next week is concentrate on creating another virtual ghost walk like the London one, but recreating my lost underground Manchester one. So if you never got a chance to do the one in Manchester, I'm going to try to recreate it using video and music, and that will be a pay-per-view. It'll be £5 like the other one was, and you'll pay it and you'll get a link from YouTube, a link from Eventbrite of an exclusive link for you to watch it on YouTube, which won't be open to people that haven't got the link. So that's what I'm planning on doing next, and then we're going to look into Reddish and Denton. So for now, my friends, cheers everybody, have a good night, keep safe, let's get the R back down to under 1, if you know what I mean, and it's now time for our theme tune again. It's Flecky, it's Friday, it's Flecky, Bennett, Friday, go for it, it's Flecky, it's Friday,
it's Flecky, it's Friday, it's Flecky, Bennett, Friday, it's Flecky, it's Friday, it's Flecky's Fright night.